Yes, so Warren, I'm a geriatrician, so I'm a physician who cares for older adults and got interested in hospital at home, this notion of providing hospital level care in the home as a substitute for being taken care of in the hospital. That was really motivated by observations that I and my colleagues made when we were providing home-based primary care. And for me, as a resident, that was just absolutely fantastic. I really fell in love with that. I love seeing patients in their homes. I love getting a sense of what their lives were like. I like the fact that we were on a more equal footing. When I'm in the hospital wearing a white coat, I am the lord of the manor, and sometimes that influences behavior. I'll be honest with you. But when I'm in someone's home, I'm a guest. It's their house. I'm kind of on a little my best behavior. It's terrible to admit, but I think it's a true statement. And in doing that care in Southeast Baltimore, we had a number of patients who would have an acute illness, and by all typical care, they would be going to the hospital. But in some cases, a number of cases, they said, there's just no way I'm going to go to the hospital because I've been there before, and it was a really lousy experience for me. So, Dr. Leff, do something. And I'll never forget one gentleman saying, who clearly had a pneumonia, who probably should have been in the hospital. He had pneumonia and all sorts of other chronic conditions that made his care challenging. And he said, I'm not going to the hospital. I'm so sick and tired, quote, I am so sick and tired of you geniuses from Hopkins. You're great doctors, you run a crappy hotel, and I'm not going. This is your problem. And so that was one case where people would refuse to go to the hospital. And then the other is that, over the last 30 plus years, and I think a self-serving comment, but I think geriatricians were among the first to recognize this before the larger medical community did, that safety and quality care in the acute hospital can be challenging for older adults, especially if they are folks who have many chronic conditions and have functional impairment, trouble walking. It's just a very rough environment for them, and they're prone to get complications simply by being in that environment. So we thought, if people don't want to go to the hospital, and sending them to the hospital can be challenging. I mean, when I'm in clinic and I have someone in the ambulatory clinic, in the usual bricks and mortar clinic, when someone's acutely ill, I will sit there and wonder, well, should I send them to the hospital? I'll be able to cure the acute condition, but will they end up not being able to walk and then need to go to a nursing home? Will they have, become confused because it's a new environment, and will that end up causing trouble? So those were all the reasons we started to think about hospital at home. The studies that we've done, the studies that a lot of other people have done before and since, have validated the notion that you can provide very high quality care in the home, that you can provide safe acute hospital level care in the home, and that you can actually avoid complications that are common in the care of older adults who are usually hospitalized. So those were some of the reasons we really got started with this.
Bruce, if I had a sick patient in Baltimore, I would not give that standard message when they call up the doctor. Says, if you think you have a medical emergency, call 911. That is the most awful message. I would say call Bruce Leff. Call Bruce Leff. Terrible.
It's so funny. We sit there as physicians and we wonder, why do our patients end up in the hospital? And in truth, it's because they're doing exactly what we tell them to do. Right? We say, if this is a life-threatening emergency, call 911 and go to the emergency department. And then it's like, I wonder how did that person end up in the emergency department? I think one thing we've learned, this is just in general care for anyone, but I think especially care for older adults, especially in that home-based primary care construct. My colleague Christine Ritchie at Mass General and I have done a lot of work in that area. We've done a lot of qualitative research where we interview patients and family members about what is it about home-based primary care that you value and really helps you as a patient or helps you as a caregiver. And the theme that always comes through right at the top of the list is, what I appreciate is that any time of the day or night, I can talk to someone who knows me and can give me basically anticipatory guidance, basically say, I know you, I hear what you're saying. I understand your symptoms. And here's what we should do. Yes, you do have a life-threatening emergency and you should go to the emergency room. Or, you know what? I think things are going to be okay. I'm not certain, but we know each other and you trust me and I trust you. And, it's 2 o'clock in the morning now. If you go to the emergency room, you're going to sit there for 12 hours anyway before someone gets to see you. How about stay home? If anything happens over the next few hours, you give a call back, but we'll get someone to come out and see you early in the morning tomorrow. That kind of advice from someone who knows you, who's just not, ants going through a phone tree and getting into an algorithm, and those things are necessary in large groups. But that guidance from a trusted agent is utterly key. And sometimes you do need to go to the hospital, but many times you don't. But hearing that from someone who knows you is really, really helpful.